the actual subject. I welcome you all, four of you, and those who are watching through the YouTube. Welcome to my channel, SAAT. This logo is both logos, the SA and the SAAT, are created by my niece's husband. Is a fantastic artist. He's an engineer as well. So he was kind enough to do it for me. Okay, so I am using it everywhere. So just to keep it subject specific. Okay, so the topics I'm going to cover are astrology, palmistry, Jaffr, and to some extent numerology. Numerology is actually encroached in everything, like astrology. Astrology is the fundamental or prerequisite for any other such knowledge, and numbers are embedded within all these knowledge. So numbers actually cannot be separated. So maybe some people have the ability to philosophically identify each number as prime numbers or any other numbers or their combination, and how they impact. But they are because they are interconnected, so and they are related, dependent on each other. So they cannot be separated in a way, because when it comes to quantitative measurement, so numbers have to be used. So every time you say 1, 2, 3, or 10, 20, the numbers are involved. And when you measure sun from the moon, the distance of the sun and moon from each other, and excuse me, my bad. I'm on a medicine that makes my throat a little dry. I'll make sure that I won't take it in the next class. Anyway, so a zodiac is a in an imaginary circle. Okay, it's above us. It's in all directions. And zodiac has been mentioned in Quran as well. Zodiac is an imaginary division of the skies or heavens. So same way, like Earth is a globe, and globe, we took it a point as a center point, because you can take a ball and put a pen anywhere, make a dot. That could be your beginning point. So you can just draw a great circle and then smaller circles, and you can draw lines across 90 degrees, making it latitude. So longitudes and latitudes, and we divide the Earth into longitude, latitudes, and then we draw, our borders, saying this is India, this is Pakistan, this is England, this is America, and these are oceans, and these are mountains. So then we start to specify the whole globe of Earth into different properties. We say, okay, these are woods or jungle. This is ocean. These are lakes. These are rivers, and these are countries, and these are lands, and here people live. So then it continues, and then we can keep defining everything we come across. So same is true about the skies. Skies are that we are found within, so many call it heavens. So we're going to use some terminology which belongs to English, such as heavens and lords, and the king, those kind of old terminologies that are being used in astrology. But don't be upset because somebody may say, oh, Lord is God. So yes, he's the Lord of the Lord. That's what he says. I'm the Lord of the Lord. But we are talking about the Lord, somebody, just like a landlord, for example. We never say, oh, it's against faith and religion to call someone a landlord. Landlord could be the owner of the house that you're renting, or maybe the person who owns a piece of land for farming. So could be landlord. Lord is just a word, that has an ownership in something. And you can assert your powers and you can assert your domination within that domain. So what we do is we draw, and because Earth is the globe is round and round, and it has so many dimensions. I mean, I wouldn't even call it 6 dimensions because it's spherical. So no matter where you are in the globe, you will always look up, and that's a strange thing, that zodiac will always be above you. It's like you're looking at your head, and then if you were in the skies, so let's say you were on the first sky. God invited you to visit and see heaven and all that, and you were looking down to Earth. Or maybe you're on the moon. Let's not get that far. But let's say you are able to go to moon or even space. We should be in the space in the next few years as travelers. So once you are in the space and you look down, this is the way you look down and you create a circle. So in a chart, which is, we call it horoscope or zodiac, right in the middle is the Earth globe in the middle, and then there's a circle around it, and that circle is zodiac. Now, if we take that zodiac and image on the top, just like we have about Khana Kaaba, the Baitullah, the house of God, the Bait Mamur, so it's projected up, all the way to the heavens. So on the day of pilgrim, the angels, they do Hajj, Tawaf. And it's like an imaginary line, that a vertical line that goes from the earth, where the Kaaba is, and all the way up to the heavens. So same way, if you look from above, the globe lies in the center, and then the zodiac, which Quran mentions also, and science also accepts that. The zodiac is a division, like countries, like borders. It's like in the chart you see them as like a circle. And let me see if I have any on this, because I wasn't prepared to go astro. If I have any chart here to show you, otherwise I will. Sorry, you want to say something? No. Okay. Rabia? No. Yes, maybe. You're welcome. There's a thinking note. Okay. All right. So all right. So it's a circle, and in the middle is it's a circle, and in the middle is your globe, your Earth, and when the blessings that come down, the impact of the universe comes down, it simmers through. It's like a zodiac. Take zodiac as a filter, a prism filter, or something that is, taking the external influence and exerting through those domains onto the Earth. Okay, and within those domains travel the planets. So the major 10 planets, but in old astrology, 7 major planets are always like, we discuss them all the time. We talk about Uranus and Neptune. So Pluto, these are external planets. They have, we consider them as making a long-term impact, generational impact. But on a daily life, like last time I was sending this message, the moon is the closest planet, and it has the maximum impact on us, followed by Mercury and Mars, and then you have, of course, Jupiter, Sun. These impact us on a second basis. Like every word that I'm saying, whatever I'm uttering, the movement of my hands and my head gesture, everything is influenced by the zodiac. Okay, so zodiac, we didn't know what zodiac meant. So we went on doing an experiment. The experiment was, if sun is in one position and moon is another position, what impact we have. So this observation, generation by generation, for millenniums, wise people, they added their knowledge to it. Now, coming back to how this astrology came to us is, in old days, people who were genius had a good head on their shoulder, above shoulder, and once they became wise. I mean, this is the beautiful words, being wise. It's like it makes you aware of everything that happens around you and within you. So you can. Those people were not only like they were so wise, and their wisdom had nourished so much that they could do medicine. They were mathematicians. They were physicians. They were pharmacists, and they were philosophers, and they were linguistic experts. Their their brain was so good that wherever they looked, they perfected that thing, at least whatever they could in their lifetimes. So they tried to do it. So they were called Hakim or wise, or whatever is the alternate word for that. So they started writing whenever there was an observation. Personally, I believe that this knowledge cannot be written by people. Trust me on that. My experience of 40 years within this knowledge, I can admit that there are things that I end up believing that it is a work of God. It's not work of humans, and I don't have a proof for this, but I believe that that mostly men of God, you call them saints, or you call them Anbiya, Nabi, Rasul, or they gave us bit by bit, they gave us something. And clear proof we have is in Quran about the Prophet Suleiman. He had all kind of esoteric control over jinns and birds and insects, and he had such a knowledge that he could control everybody. And then the story of magic within that is this knowledge belonged to Prophet Suleiman, and then it was stolen, and then how God sent angels and taught men how to have a counter, how to protect themselves. So in essence, I think we elaborated on basic fundamental principles that, just like Quran has one ayah, and then people ponder on one ayah for the rest of their lives, and they discover something. And we know Jaffr bin Hayyan, the student of Imam Jaffr Sadiq alayhi salam. As I've heard the story and its history. I don't know. I mean, who's right or who's wrong. That's not my place to judge. But the story I heard that Jaffr comes to the university or the school of Imam Jaffr Sadiq alayhi salam, and and it's overcrowded. It's overcrowded, and Jaffr stands in the door. He couldn't come in. So Imam sees him and points at him and gives him an ayah. It says, okay, he does the tilawat of ayah and says, okay, Jabir, you take it and ponder upon it. So he gladly takes it and goes away. And then he becomes what we know him as a father of the chemistry. And as the narration is that he worked on, um, pondered upon that one ayah. So this is how things were explored. You know, there were hints, there were secrets, there were whatever, encryption. I don't know what to call it though. These things were like, maybe it's just a dense wisdom. It's very, heavy weighted wisdom. Sometimes you have to understand one word, you have to maybe you have to read tons of books to understand what it means, just yesterday, somebody said, oh, you are a very learned and Zeric. I said, well, Zeric, and maybe it has a different meaning in Arabic or Persian or any other language that's based upon the same script. But Zeric usually is like in Pakistan is very used in a kind of a negative sense. So and then we started off talking about it, the culture. The words have culture behind them. There are certain words that we use here in our country, India and Pakistan. They may have entirely different meaning from they are actually originated, which is like Urdu is fundamentally a foreign language. So it consists of Arabic and Persian and Hindi and Punjabi, whatever, English also. So anyway, so these things were part of wisdom that they inherited, they brought to us, and then they gave us to say, okay, ponder upon it. And I think that's where I got more impressed by our learned teacher, Ayatollah Sayyid Hassan Murtaza Naqvi, may Allah bless him and increase his tawfiqat. And he convinced me, because I was like, I've been learning it for years. And I was on and off, and I knew, as far as I'm concerned, what I'm doing is right. But I didn't know whether it would be wise to put somebody else on this track, because I can understand that what I'm pursuing as a knowledge, but a lot of people will not pursue it as a knowledge. They may make it as a profession, and a lot of people abuse this profession. That's the problem with this. You will see people in across the globe. It's not specific to India, Pakistan, or those Asian countries. Even in Western countries, you will see them utilizing these kind of information that may compel people to think the way they don't think, or the otherwise. So there's likelihood that people will be influenced in certain way. They will be impacted in some way. They will be biased in some way in utilizing this knowledge. Now, I have people come to me and just say, we need a taweez and so and so, I want so and so to fall in love with me. I said, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Even if I knew, I wouldn't do it. The simple answer is I don't want to even talk about it because this is against somebody's will. You cannot do it. How many people understand that kind of a thing? In Pakistan or India, you can see, oh, you know what? It's written on the walls everywhere. You go across and say, okay, we can solve, like such as like aapka mehboob aapke qadmon mein. And nobody objects to that. Nobody kills them. Nobody beats them. Nobody does anything about it. It's just accepted norm. So, and on the other hand, there's extremist people who will use anything to terrify you. So but to me, it's just a knowledge. Anyway, moving forward, Ayatollah Murtaza, he actually convinced me to hand over knowledge to others who can carry on the torch. So I embarked on it, had his instructions. He convinced me it's knowledge and pure knowledge, and pursue it as knowledge and give it to the people who have not. And if somebody wants to use it for any wrong purpose, I mean, I can give you a pen. You can kill a person with a pen. So we see it all the time in the movies, of course. But it's the use of something that makes it good or bad. So let's not get bogged down with the jurisprudence of Islamic, making it halal or haram. If we take it as a knowledge, it's all halal. There's no knowledge. Even study of a pig is not haram, because it's a study, it's a knowledge you have to do. And in alcohol, I mean, people research on alcohol, it's not haram. Drinking may be haram, yeah, fine in certain ways, no, but if you're sick, people give you medicine. So it becomes, even Quran says if you're dying, you can eat pork. So it depends on what your excuse is for anything. If you have a good justification, that is that you, I mean, if you're dying of hunger and your children are eaten, and you go out and you charge $100 for making a chart, yeah, I don't think it's wrong. But lying, short circuiting, just before, in order to show that, I am the man and I am the person who has, all the knowledge, and I can, I say it all the time. I mean, I have a member of Facebook, four groups, hundreds and thousands of people there, who come on and they print their hand, they post their hand, pictures of their hands, and they want to know what's going on. And you can see person after person after person after person claiming to be palmist, absolutely rubbish comments by them. Absolutely. They even don't know a single thing about palmistry. And they're sitting there, they're trying to extort money from them. They're trying to make a living, but they're making living by lying, by cheating, by short-circuiting, making shortcuts and all that. And you know what? There are problems. I can say half of you people out there, okay, they come to me, either they have a marital problem, they have a problem with the parents or education or going abroad and job. These are 5, 6, 7, 8 major problems. So how hard it is to guess what is going on with the person, and then the moment you put your hand on the pulse, and the person starts, and people start to lead you. Fine. I do it too, because if I have to read somebody's chart, it takes me minimum 4 hours. Literally, if I do a 4-hour chart and then I sit down, and a friend of mine, she came to me for her son, and she said, do it. And I studied his chart for 8 hours. And then I spoke to him on one issue for 3.5 hours. This is who I am. I just pick one little problem, the glitch a person is having. Okay. For example, I had a doctor who lives in America, but he's not practicing doctor. He took his license, MBBS, in Pakistan. He moved here, and he's working somewhere else. Okay, so you have discussed it. Okay, thank you, Shahla. So now this person, so I lost my third sequence. I don't know where I was. I think I was going to start with an example. Anyway, it will come back. It's just a flow of thought that comes, and if it's broken, it's broken. Anyway, so coming back to the halal, and I have a message that you have already discussed in the class. So yes, so I'm just I'm not advocating it. I'm just touching upon that. It's up to you. Pick up. You said that how you can pick up. Okay. All right. So yeah. Well, if you want, I mean, we can discuss about it. From knowledge point of view. Not from the jurisprudence, being an ayatollah or anything. To me, the biggest the ayatollah or mujtahid is yourself, because it's obligatory upon you to learn, and it's a must for every man on earth, every Muslim and every Mu'min especially. It's obligatory to learn. So learning, and then it means you are mujtahid. You are in search of knowledge. Now, if you don't have that knowledge, you go to somebody else. Then that person who's an expert knows more than you becomes your mujtahid, or you are in the taqleed of somebody else. It doesn't matter. I can be in taqleed of 10 mujtahideen, doesn't matter, because I'm learning. I will learn from everybody, and I don't find any fundamental difference between those out there. So whatever happens, the legality will always be an issue for some people. But we are not talking about those people. We are within our domain. Yes, Sister Shala Anjum, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I was trying to give you a hint where you were. Like you were saying, this is how I can pick up things. Like you work hard, you observe their chart.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going to talk about that doctor actually. I was talking about yeah. Thank you very much for reminding me.
No problem.
So yeah, so the doctor, one day he has been planning for over a year or two. So he comes to me. He brings a lot of food with him. I say, you're living a bachelor's life alone. So I'll don't cook. I'll bring my food. So they brought food, and we sat down. He was with his brother. Now, when I looked at he wasn't sure about the time. So when it comes to charts, I'm always suspicious of. I always look at each date of birth and time of birth with full suspicion, 100% suspicion. Now then, I have to come reverse engineer and I say, okay, convince me that your date of birth is right. Okay, so once you establish that it is right, then you have whole world open to you. The book, you can start reading it. And I'll show you eventually how it's done. So anyway, so I looked at his hand for my own convenience, because hand is like, you're okay, all right, and you start talking. So I looked at his hand and I was like, wait a minute, you're a brilliant person. Man, look at your headline, look at your lifeline, look at your, hotline. It's a beautiful hand shape that you have. Everything is good about you. So what is wrong? So this one little thing that is somewhere is wrong. And I know, I've seen some indication in his life, but I want him to say it. Because unless you bring your person you're talking to on that level, they will not open up. Okay? I've seen people say, you're talking about them, you say, oh, you know what? Let's say, I'm just picking up. You're a liar, for example. A person who's a chronic liar, and you say, and now as a doctor, you have to diagnose problems. You say, you're a doctor, and you say, oh, you know what, your biggest problem is you're a liar. Or maybe a gambler, for example, which is a very common problem. A gambler, are you a gambler? Oh, no, I'm not. I never gambled in my life. And when you start talking, half an hour down the road, they are asking you, tell me which How should I play? Which number should I do it out? They start to ask you. I come across a person who wanted me to tell him what is the best time and how he can bring the drugs to the country. I said, wait a minute. Weren't you arrested last time? He said, yes. I said, didn't your friends, leaked out that you're doing it? They, they ratted you? I said, yes, yeah. How do you know? I said, well, that's what my job is. And I was like a very beginning. It's my beginning of my Palmistry was like I'm only like in the 10th page in my book, actually, when I was reading it. So, but I had his chart as well. So together I was able. So I said, do you think anything will change if you do it the next time? Let's say if I tell you Monday, 10 o'clock, you do that, you will be caught again because that's your fate. Every time you do something wrong, you'll be caught. Jail is your destiny. You want to do it, but you will end up in jail. The better thing is not to do it. And now, this is the way to talk him out of it. I had a woman who, a couple, they were fighting they were beautiful people, but they're fighting all the time. So, you must have heard that, a doctor said to the woman, a woman came to the doctor and said, you know what, my husband is maybe a Molana or something. Give me a taweez, my husband is always fighting with me. So, okay, next time, when he fights with you, put this taweez under your tongue. And fight never happened. I said, oh, you gave me a successful. The miracle was in putting something on the tongue and not moving it, so she didn't respond. So the man would just, go crazy for like 10 minutes and then shut up. So the thing is, things happen. So I had a couple that they were fighting all the time, and their sister came to me and said, you know what, see something. I said, well, there's something. This man is 6.5 feet tall and is a giant, and you know what, he gets mad and he's going to kill his wife, one day. So she wants divorce or she wants to stay with him. So she wants to stay with him. She loves him. It's just they're fighting. And say, okay, tell her that that she is likely to be killed if she is going to fight with him. She said, okay. So she never fought with her husband, and I said, oh, it's going to be like for next 10 years. So after 10 years, the marriage has grown out, and beautifully. And so I said, is it time that it's over? I said, it was always over. There was no danger, It's just, you have to instill some scare or something. Sometimes you're using as a psychological tool to bring out people to admit something which is the underlying problem, which was in this case of the doctor, and the problem with him was that he was, as a child, he was abused not in a sexual sense, but in the torture, mental torture, and like it goes on in our society. The parents beating up the children, and especially the father, he talks after and slaps first, that kind of a thing. So he lost his personality. So this is the problem. A beautiful man, great brain, everything is wonderful. The man doesn't have confidence. Just one little thing, man doesn't have confidence. So each time his brother went out to bathroom or somewhere else, his younger brother was with him, who brought him up. So he would just, in secret, now he's convinced, so he tells me things and say, okay, keep talking. I don't have to look at your hand. I told you once for all, you're a perfect person. And you know your problem. I just have to bring you to that point where you realize that what is going on with you. And he was about to divorce his wife because he married a very poor woman. He thought that, she will come and take. He wanted some caring. He wanted some love, somebody to just think of him all the time, possess him, because he lacked love. He didn't get it from his parents. So, And then he married a woman that, was very, poor. And then he started complaining, but she's not coming up to par. I said, wait a minute. You are in America, your wife is in Pakistan, and she's half your age, and she's bringing up your children, and you expect her to. You'll be lucky if she's not jumping the walls and going to the other houses, or visiting other people in the area, because no woman, no person can be strong enough to live like that forever. You are torturing her. She's a human being. She has so many. She wants to be loved. She wants to she wants you to take her to a restaurant and buy her new clothes. Do like a husband do for the women, wives. Do you realize that what kind of a stress you have put her through, and you still expect that she should come up to the par? And then all of a sudden, he started to explore himself, and I didn't have to say anything. I just brought him to his weakness, the fundamental problem that he had, without looking into his chart, without looking into it, just by a look of a glance of on his hand. I see how easy it becomes. So knowing all these knowledges, they give you, they reveal who the person is. Okay, so and there are so many things that, I mean, you can have an authentic book, and it may say A is equal to B. And what happens is that we start believing that A is equal to B. And I took, well, the moment and let me tell you how I started off. I was going from New York to Pakistan, and I'm in the airplane. And in those books, there were no mobile phones. In those times, there were no mobile phones. And there were no mobile phones, and there were no, these kind of things that we have. So before each flight, I would just walk over to a bookstore at the airport and buy a book for myself, so which I would read while I'm waiting for the flight and during the flight. Flights were like maybe a 24-hour flight. It will stop at, going from New York into London or Paris, and then Greece, and then another destination, and then Karachi, and then Lahore, or whatever. So it was a long flight. So it's very normal to buy a book and read it. That day I couldn't find, the bookstore didn't have a book that I wanted to read. So so I decided to read newspaper. I hardly read newspapers. It's just headlines that I look at, and that's it. So that day, I had nothing else to do. It's a long flight, so I started reading. If I remember correctly, it was New York Times or something like that. I looked into it, and when I was scrolling, there was in the middle page, there's a full page, newspaper, American newspaper, full page story. President Reagan, his wife Nancy Reagan, consult astrologers on a daily basis to do schedule or do anything or any planning they do. And interestingly, their subheadings were General Colin Powell, who was the chief of army staff at the time, also uses astrologers. General Schwarzkopf, who was the architect of the Operation Desert Storm in Iraq and all that. I'm talking about 1991, 91, yeah, 93, something. It was 91, I guess. So, and that is, when I saw those headings, and it intrigued me. Wait a minute. The top of the country, America, the best country, most educated, R&D, no matter, I mean, the whole world cannot compete America in R&D, research and development. It's pure. That's one of the biggest strengths America has, R&D. And education and all the universities, the top world universities are here, and education and all that. A country, I mean, they may have a political, issues, that's a different thing, but as a country. So I said, why a president of that country would be using astrology? And we till that point we know, astrology is just garbage. It's just, manipulating people. It's just, making people stupid and all that, all the negative things. So why would this president of this nation doing this? So I started reading the whole article. And the moment I landed in Karachi, not that time, but I bought a book. Then I came back. I went back to Norway after that, and in Norway I started buying books. And the way the things worked in those days was I would buy the book, read it, and then on the back there's a publisher's address. So I would write the author my questions and send the letter to the publisher. Publisher will forward that letter to. And this is how I came in touch with the world's best astrologers in America. One of them, the one was Robert Zoller. He was an expert in Latin language and astrology as well, and especially Islamic history and astrology. He knew more about Islam than I did. I know, that's so amazing. So we used to have very long discussions. He invited me. I came to New York. I went to see him in New York City, and then we became very good friends. He's gone now, passed away, but I learned a lot of things from him. So he encouraged me, even though he looked at my chart all the time. He said, "Your chart is not, unless your date of time of birth is wrong, your chart does not reflect you're an astrologer, or you're going to be an astrologer." The only thing that lied in my chart was the first house, Neptune. I had Neptune in the Neptune controls your thoughts, your imagination, your curiosity, and things that are hidden, and then things that attract you. So that's what it. And I never explored myself in that sense. So I knew that I like to go to places. I like to go to mountains. I like to go do this, and I like to do that. So I was always on the run. I was always on my feet doing something. So anyway, to cut the story short, this is how I started learning, and then I went to Karachi. Next time, I bought every book on the shelf in Jaffr. I spent months, years, 10, 12, 15, 18 hours a day in trying to figure out what is written in them. And I found 90% of it was all garbage. Those, what are those names? I don't want to take it in a public. Any book you pick, it's just a copy. I mean, in my city, I had a publisher, book publisher. He was blind, and he told his wife the year she will not have a baby, she will get a divorce. And he's a blind man, so every year he will have a baby, And he had like 14 or 15 boys and girls by the time I knew him. So anyway, he was a publisher of a small shop, and they have a press in there. His job was to collect old magazines and take story from one magazine, another magazine, another, and just change the names and all that and reprint and sell it. He's making 50 pesos out of a book, or 1 rupee out of the book. Books were like $4, 4 rupees, 3 rupees, 2 rupees, like those times. So they were literally looking into pesos and on us, and this is how they made a living. But this is how the whole Pakistan was published. You could find better books on a footpath, on a curbside, rather than in a library. Library reflected more like fancy books, not knowledge, but more like Razia Bhatt novels and things like that, which doesn't contribute. It doesn't enhance your thinking process. It's just how women lived in Pakistan, what their agony was, how they were being misused or crushed, and It was all the topics, because most of the novels were written by women. I personally was Razia Sultana, Razia Butt. No, not Razia, but what was the name? I'm not sorry about that. I have so many thoughts running at the same time. Razia, what was her name? And it will come. So I was impressed by her style and writing short story afsanas. And I used to write afsanas a lot. So anyway, so those books didn't have much of knowledge. I mean, they fail, each formula failed, either first step, second step, third step. I even one of them failed at the very last step. Everything meshed. I tested 1, 2, 3, 10. So 25 steps I went in, and every one of them proved to be right. The last step was wrong. I spent days and months to figure out how it could be done. Maybe now I can revisit and use AI to figure out the last step and the madness what's in there. But all of them are, I mean, you pick up these jantris, Shia jantris, and they have so many things in there. It could be totally rubbish, garbage, or it could be a very a diamond in there. But that Mr. Abbas or whoever are there, they publish so many things. But sometimes they don't realize what they're publishing. And I found some precious stones in there, very, very precious things in there. But the publishers, the person who offered this one had no idea what it was and how to maximize benefit out of it. For example, if you have an ayah that works in the morning, it doesn't work in the evening. First of all, they don't know. If they say, oh, it worked in the morning, it will work forever. Yeah. And if they didn't, if they tried in the morning and they tried in the evening, it didn't work. They didn't sit down to figure out what is wrong with it, why it works in the morning and why it doesn't work in the afternoon or evening. That's where my job came in, and so I had to figure out, how these things work. Why the timing? So you had to learn astrology, you had to learn ilm Jaffr, you had to learn numerology and palmistry to figure out the holistic picture, to draw a holistic picture of everything that you are looking at. So the information has to be, if not complete, but it has to be correct information in the first place. Even if it's small, it has to be correct. And then you must believe that it is correct by trial, not because you read it, A is equal to B, and then you just believe in it. Because if you start believing in what you got, then you are not progressing. In order to progress, you have to criticize it. You have to look at it and say, you know what is wrong with this? So you have to try it from different angles to explore it. So this is what I did for the last 40 years. I kept looking, and then I gave up on it because, I mean, in my head, I mean, I didn't need a chart anymore. You can say a sentence and I can draw a chart from the sentence you make, or a gesture you make, or the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you eat. I can start relating, oh, you know what? Your energy, I can look at your energy level and say, your Mars must be strong in your and where your Mars is exerting. You don't have to understand a chart. You have to understand, what person is doing. So a person who is talkative, it talks, and you say, oh, he has she has a Mercury, it's a Mercury right there. So Mercury and Mercury, where is Mercury? Mercury is in Cancer, is talking about the domestic things, or things about home or restaurant, food, clothing, that thing that belong to the fourth house. Or the person is talking about, oh, me, I am the one, look at me, I'm the best orator, I'm the best, leader, I'm the best this, and I'm this. And everything is about myself. Then it's the first house. So Mercury in the first house, probably, right? Egoistic. So now you start to make those things and place them. It may be interrelated. Maybe it's not the first house. It may be Aries, Mercury's in Aries and somewhere else projecting. So so you look at it and then you judge the personality. And then once you have judged the personality, now you need proof. Before you say it, you need a proof. And I always thought Mohsin and Ali, Ali Hassan, Ayatollah's son, that remember, whenever you say anything, minimum one proof, and to say it for with the guarantee, with the authenticity, I want three proofs. Three proofs because it's very easy to say. If there's something, for example, a person is a killer, and before I go and say, oh, you're going to murder something, and you just instigated something negative in the person's personality, maybe he's not a killer. How do you know? Oh, I saw a sign. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's one time. Maybe there will be a car accident, and it will be an accidental death, and it shows up in the hand, but you can't make a person killer. So to be a killer, you have to be a professional kind of a person, or habitual person, or compelled by an emotion, over-exaggerated, overwhelming emotion that makes the person go and kill another human being. That must reflect everywhere in your hand, for example. And let me pick on hand. It should reflect from your lifeline. It should reflect from your headline. It should reflect from your heart line. All right. So it should reflect, that's why I say minimum three, from heart line and lifeline and your brain line. It should reflect from there. Now, if we're talking about the Jupiter, for example, Jupiter, I have always perceived as read, not perceived, but read Jupiter as being a lucky star. It's not lucky. I'm telling you, it's not lucky. It's not luck. Why it's not luck? But luck is that I'm sitting here and all of a sudden, something dropped from the sky, $1 million dropped from the sky. I go and play lotto and I win $1 million, or $1 billion. That's luck. Okay, you go for and 200 people are waiting, and you just walk in, and the company owner hires you. That's luck. Okay. The train always comes on time for you. That's luck. Okay. So Jupiter, if you have a prominent Jupiter in your, let's say, first house Jupiter, first house Jupiters are always some kind of a king, leadership. You go look at all the leaders, most of them, majority of them will have Jupiter in their first house. So what is Jupiter then? Then I say, wait a minute. It's not, it's making you lucky. It's bringing you luck, but not because it generates something. It instigates some kind of esoteric or something supernatural falling on you as a luck. No. So what is happening is that Jupiter makes you a winner. It gives you a power and drive to succeed above and beyond everybody else and your goals. That's what Jupiter does. That's where the luck lies. Okay, so it's not just you're sitting home and the Manasalva is coming, home, and food. You don't have to worry about food, and maybe that's what is luck. I'm not doing anything, and I'm still rich, and I'm still eating, and still happily ever after. I get the best wife, get the best children. That's luck. But if you're a Jupiter, first house Jupiter, you are lucky. You are a person who will never, ever give up. Look at Pervez Ali. At the age of almost 76, 77, 78, he went to prison and he had a hard time. Look at Imran Khan. The chart I got for him was 12 hours off. I said, no, that's wrong. This man has to have Jupiter in his first house. So I moved the wheel, put Jupiter in his first house, and everything started falling in place. Because everything, now you interpret all the rest of the planets, they make sense. It shows, oh, he's a sportsman. Yes. Every house gets occupied. But then I'm the only one who has the right time for him. So I draw a chart and I say, oh, he cannot be beaten. He has a first, but he has a retro Jupiter. Retro Jupiter is that you are a spiky person. You succeed, you lose. You succeed, you lose. You succeed, you lose. But you learn from it. You learn a lot. By losing, you learn, you win, you come back, you prepare yourself. But that's the enthusiasm, that's the will, that's the power that you get out of Jupiter. That what is luck. I mean, it's like what they call it in Makaddar ka Skandar, It makes you that kind of a person who has so much of willpower, strength to succeed in whatever endeavor you take. So, that's what Jupiter is. So you look at the person's personality and you start to judge them what the planets are influence. So it's either way. So now you take a look at a hand or a chart, or you look at a person there because they are reflection. It's like an image. It's just like you are looking at my image, right? Through the video. You're looking at my face. It's an image. It's not real me. Real me is sitting right here. So same way, a person and a chart or a hand is a reflection. So whatever a person is, it will reflect within the image you have created. That image could be a chart, zodiac chart. It could be the shape of the hand and figures on it, and it could be some numbers, or it could be some behavior or anything that you identify that person. It's the properties you define. This is why we can't define God, because you cannot comprehend. You don't see him, you don't touch him, you cannot define him. So, but he is known from his qualities. He's Rahim, he's kind. But you cannot draw a picture of him. So the same way, you look into person's, the qualities, and you say, okay, a person reflects these qualities, and then you study. Now, many people are not accepting palmistry, astrology, and numerology, and all these as a scientific discipline. And I intend to do that. All I have to do is start collecting data. Unfortunately, I've been in IT, but I never learned programming. I ran and managed a software house for 10, 12 years. I have been working with programmers, and I know how I can develop, I can engineer and design most sophisticated applications, but I cannot code. Now I'm inclined on learning Python so I can do whatever is in my head, because I cannot depend on other people for what I want them to do, because I'm asking them too much. It's too much, and the ideas are stuck in my head, and I want to take them out. They're not. That's why in the group, when I said I want audience, if you have put me on this, and I want to just dump everything out, and I want somebody to take it from me before I forget, because this knowledge is the one that you must keep on practicing to get better. The moment you become idle, you start to forget, because there's no more experience. This is all experience, because learning human beings, every single human being is different from every other. So you have never achieved that point where you can say, I'm done learning palmistry, I'm done learning astrology, I'm done learning numerology or Jaffr, anything like that. You're never ever done, forever. I mean, till the last day, the doomsday. You will not, because every time there's a person, is a new person. Every moment is a new moment. Literally is, and it's a scientifically speaking. So I want to gather all the data, and I want to put it together and start to project things. So it can be. So there are some studies going on, like on the shape of the hand. I had an article. Somebody about several years ago, they printed out published a article on the finger, index finger, and they showed how index finger, the length of the index finger in women and men has impact on their personality or their aggression. I mean, not aggression in a negative sense, but how they manage their energies. Okay, so now I'll take the same thing into astrology. So you have a finger, and we call it a Jupiter finger, right? the index finger is Jupiter finger. The mount here is mount of Jupiter, right here. Okay, this is right under the finger, exactly right under the finger in the palm area. This is your Jupiter. This is your Jupiter mount of Jupiter, and this is your finger. Okay, there are three divisions, phalanx, parts, whatever you want to call them. So three of those. Every finger has that. And there are like joints that divide the finger, and there are different energy levels. So your whole body has energy going out of your arm into your palm, and this is the best. You got the most sophisticated connection with your brain through your hand, because whatever you do in your life is through your hand. You write, you pick, you complete things, anything that you do, you eat, whatever, you wash yourself, you use your hands. Okay, so you take from hands or you give from hands. So they are directly connected with your intellect, your power, your energy, your whatever you create for yourself. Okay, so now that's scientific study he did. Now, I said that in the chart, the Jupiter, if it's the first house Jupiter, it gives you, it makes you a person, a king of the king who embarks on winning, conquering the whole world, like Alexander, like Genghis Khan, or those kind of people. They are huge in them, they have momentum. That's where momentum comes from. The Jupiter. Jupiter gives you action. And I say it's luck by action. Okay, so what kind of action you do is luck. Okay, so you go out. I mean, I'm a lucky person, but I'm lazy. I don't go out. I don't want to go out to the shop, stand in a line, and spend $5 to buy a $1 billion lottery. $1 billion lottery. I'm too lazy to do that. But I'm a lucky person. Okay. In many places I go around and I see, okay, I find myself lucky. But here I don't have that power of Jupiter to make me get out of my bed or my couch and go to the shop to buy a lottery ticket. That vigor, that power is missing. That action is missing. So Jupiter brings that action into you. That enables you as a human being to go and pursue things that you want to pursue. Right or wrong depends on. It's a different factor now. Then we will judge, is it right tendency or a wrong tendency? That's where we will come, right? So a person, when we look at the Jupiter finger, okay, so you look at that. So you will see my fingers are almost, and I shared, I think, one of the videos. So if you look at this, if this is like hand is like this, and you will see that this finger will look taller and this smaller. And if it's like the other way around, like this one, and this will look taller because now you squeeze your fingers like this way. So they're one size, right? But by moving them left and right, they will appear to be longer or shorter than the others. A lot of people don't understand that. You go and pick any website in the world, any internet website where they talk about palmistry, people are taking photos like this, and you put a camera from here and then towards finger, and the fingers look 2 inches longer than they actually are. They look prominently, very extensively long, very long. They should have been, let's say the fingers are supposed to be 3 inches long. They'll appear to be 4 inches long because the camera has a refraction. It has iron in it that it cannot. Like to take two buildings, you go to New York or you go to any, and you try to take picture of a 2, 3, or 4 tallest building, and you will see them tilting, forward, because the lens has an error, because it's a lens have more focus in the middle, and then the refraction starts to happen on the sides, and then an image starts to elongate, so and that's why the lens across around, like you're looking at me at a frame. This frame This frame that you're looking, it looks very square, right? But if I see that now, if I do my hand like this, see how long my hand looks, how crooked it looks. Look at my pinky finger and here, it looks different. And see, it looks like I have like 5 inches tall thing. So that impact is because of the lens. And people are publishing pictures of their hand and say, "Oh, read my hand," and then they're smart enough to take a line and start writing on it. Oh, this is lifeline, and they paint on it with a pencil to tell just telling the expert, the palmist, that, oh, this is my lifeline, and they have all kind of lines traced, like tracing. They trace with a pen. Oh God, I said, who told you to do that? You have the line, even if it's like literally this tiny line on your hand, and if it's giving you information, the beginning and the middle and the end of the line is very, very important. For example, if you have a luck line that starts from here and goes all the way up, doesn't matter where it ends, any of the 4 fingers, any line that goes up, any line that goes up, any line that goes across, the 4 type of lines, 2 types of lines, I'm sorry. The one that travel on a longitudinal, latitudinal and longitudinal. Is it? Vertical and horizontal lines. Now, within that, now if any of you in Europe and America, even now in Pakistan, India, you have ring roads, right? A ring road, and you start from the city, you take its road and you go left and right, and then you end up on the ring road, and ring road is then going all the way down and then putting you on a highway. All right. Now, ring road is a circular in nature, but you'll see north and south, east and west, very prominently there. And now you are confused. You're going north, and it says M4 towards east, but you're heading north. You're looking at your map and it says north, and you're kind of confused for a minute. What is going on here? Same is true about your hand. Your line is always a vertical line if it's traveling from up and down, and mostly from down to up. And if they turn around like a river, how a river comes from the north, from the mountains, and it flows left and right from different areas, and then falls into the south, into the sea. All right. And maybe there's a little variation, but general direction is north and south and east and west. So same way, the finger, the lines within your palm are either horizontal or vertical. Now they travel, they may zigzag a little bit, and they may, instead of starting from here, they may start from here, and they may end up right in the middle, the short. Some may start right from very beginning and end very nicely under the Saturn finger or Jupiter finger or your Sun finger or your Mercury finger. They're all luck lines. Any line that travels upward is a luck line. Luck line means it doesn't bring you the luck, but it tells the luck. Luck is different. Don't take luck as something like Mano Salva, like something dropping on you from out of nowhere. That luck is different. We will never talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it, but when time comes, when that event happens. But anything else other than that, nothing is luck in you. There's no such thing as luck line. It's the line that tells me how strong you are in a certain manner, in certain trait, a certain quality. Because if you are an orator, hey, Hitler was an orator. Look what he did. With one speech, he could just turn upside down. And there have been so many great orators. People athletes, they run, they do nothing else, but they run. They run so fast, they amaze people, So one quality, and they become millionaires and billionaires because of the opportunity that comes with it. So then, and it translates into luck. See, so when you do something, when you are something, everything turns into. So your luck is that you go out and go to school, go to college, go to university, complete your education, get a nice job, and then now you are making a handsome money and you buy a home and you get married, you have a nice children, you give them a good provision. This is luck. But this luck comes from your original work that you did as a student. You studied hard to become a professional. So we are looking at how these lines are traveling from down upward to reflect who you are and how much energy, your passion, your strength you are giving up. I mean, from strength. I have a friend who has a first house Mars. And I tell him, you know what, now Mars is in a bad position. And hey, you're going to get headaches, you're going to be angry, you'll be fighting. And when he gets mad and he fights with his wife, he fights with his friend, and he fought with me two, 3 times. He respects me, but when he's angry, he's angry. What can be done? So that is something that you need to look into. That the impact of the energies that we have, which travels through our hand, it shows up in your. That's the logic. Okay, so whatever shows up, it shows how it reflects. I mean, if you're angry, it reflects on your face, doesn't it? If you're happy, you're smiling. Okay, so it reflects on your face. When you're serious, it shows how serious you are. Your speech, your selection of your word, everything, it's you, right? And now you are brought up in, Quran says everybody's born on the nature, and the nature is the nature of God, and the nature of God never changes, right? But that's the Quran, right? So what happens? And it's you who make them this, and you make them that, you make them turn into something else. Yeah, we do that as parents. We tell our children to go to a private school, or be a gender bias, or a racial bias, or hate blacks and hate this and hate that, and whites, and every based upon color and skin and all that and status. We teach them that. Take 2 kids. I've seen on the airport 2 kids, one from Africa, one from Europe. They're both 1.5, 2 years old, sitting next to each other on the Copenhagen airport. They, within 3 months, 3 minutes, they started playing together, and they were communicating, which the language they didn't know. It was a plague language they had, and they became friends. Within 2-3 minutes, they were like, they could understand each other. That's the human being, the natural human being. That's where you observe people, their behaviors. So it's science of knowing, understanding people, their nature, who they are, and then you measure them exactly. What astrology, palmistry, numerology, and all these Jaffr give you it's an exact measurement of a person. You can actually take the person to the minutest fraction, like you have hours and minutes within the hour, and seconds within the hour, and nanoseconds, and blah blah blah. Okay, so you can divide that person and find the person to the smallest part of it. You can measure part, and this is what makes it science. But nobody has made that approach so far to make it a science, because and once it becomes a science, then it's more acceptable. It will be taught. In England, they are teaching magic, black magic, actually, voodoo. There's a research going on. There's a class. They teach you. It's for them. It's a knowledge. They need to know what it is, how it is, why it works. If it works, why it works. If it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? It has to be explored. It has to be. If it's a myth, it has to be thrown out. You must learn to authenticate a knowledge that you get to you. If it's good, work on it. If it's not good, throw it away. It's a garbage. You don't want to carry on garbage, and you don't want to have that. And this is exactly AI is going to do these days. They will be cleaning up. The world will be seeing in next 5-10 years, seeing a very, very clean data. That's the beauty of the pure knowledge is going to pour in the next few years' time. Wow. I mean, I'm so excited. I'm saying, God, give me another 20 years. I want to live in this knowledge, and I want to explore. I want to see what is happening. Because when I go out, and I'm in the seventh, I mean, I'm studied in military college, Jhelum, a cadet college, and I was deferred for medical reasons. It was actually a problem with the X-ray machine, and I had to just wait, be three months late to join my college. When I did, I was 3 months behind in my studies. So I was very weak in math. Which was the next class. So my teacher, he said, okay, he appointed one student on me to teach me math. He would always take 100% marks, and he was thought to be a mathematician of the house. We were living in a boarding. So he would say, okay, a squared plus b squared is equal to 2ab. I said, oh, okay, how is it? This is how it is. I said, no, you prove to me. At that time, I didn't realize who I am. Why am I arguing with people? People thought I was arguable. I was making arguments, and I was not happy. I was not listening. I was, doing this and that. But then when I grew up and I said, wait a minute, this is who I am. I want to know things. Why? I cannot memorize things. I cannot, simply. But if I understand things, I will never forget things. I will be best at them. I'll know them in and out. Okay, you have a question. Do we need to read the sky carefully in order to learn about astrology? Yes, because it's an advanced question, but yes. As in the beginning, I said the zodiac is an imaginary circle above you, no matter where you are on the globe, it is always there. And then the planets are around the globe. They are moving around in different way, like electrons move around the nucleus. So the planets are moving, including sun, moon, and all those 10 planets, our solar system. And the moons, their moons, and all that. They impact, everything impacts us. So we look at them, what position they are in. Like I said, for example, this is Aries. They are not exactly the way you look at them in the horoscope. Sometimes people horoscope, they draw a square, and then they cross it up and to make it like triangles within that, like Vedic. And then there are 2-3 different ways of writing within the Vedic. Some people start from the east, and to them, right hand is the east, north, west, and south directions. Like you're looking at my picture, this is north, and this is south, and this is east, and this is west. But if you're looking from the top, the east actually it becomes inverted, like inverted image. The east in a modern Western astrology, the east lies on the left side of the circle, and the north remains the same, and the west goes into the right side, and then south. Each one, and within that circle, wherever the sun, moon, and all those planets happen to be. So let's say their moon moves in, and this is the border of Aries. It's just like a country, they're like irregular shapes. They are not perfect shaped. They're irregular shaped. So they go, and that's amazing. I mean, science believes in those irregular imaginary borderlines up there, and Quran mentions it too. But yet we don't accept as a scientific knowledge. But anyway, so the sun comes up, and it's Aries, for example, and sun enters the Aries, right? And as soon as it enters the Aries, this is the prism, all right? So sun is right there, and sun reflecting its powers, energies, and going through the prism and coming to the earth on you. It's impacting you. Just like our sky, 7 skies that we have above, different 7 layers that we have, they filter UV, for example, UV rays for you, so that you are protected. You don't get skin cancer, don't get burned, because sun doesn't just send energy, it sends very, very strong energies, different kind of energies, so different kind of powers and waves that can harm us. And God has created that. It mentions in the Quran that protection layers that it has created us to protect us. So much of those harmful things are filtered out by the skies, our skies, the earth skies, the seven layers. So same way, the impact through the zodiac, that house, that sign we call it, the sun will reflect different kind of qualities and impact us in different ways. So in order to know that, to answer your question, so if sun is in, we have to know that sun is in Aries, or sun is in Taurus, and the sun is in Gemini, and so on and so forth. All the 12 signs. So you go, it's a 12 division. So you divide a circle because they go around in a year. Every planet goes around the Earth in a year, or Earth goes around them, or they both go around each other. Doesn't matter. In the chart, now I'm talking about chart, not the actual science. So in chart, they follow each other in the circle. Boom, boom, boom. They keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, right? So sometimes they follow each other. Sometimes they go ahead of each other. They cross and they meet, and they oppose each other. They have different locations to measure themselves. That's where the energies constantly change by opposition, by conjunction, by square, in which square is 90 degrees, being at the 90 degrees. There are different kind of angles that impact that energy. The prism, the signs, okay? So these signs, so you have to know, yes, you have to learn, astrology in order to you have to know the sky. If you don't know the sky, you will not be able to, palmistry, you can say that in order to have a static information, and now let me elaborate something on that. If you don't want to learn astrology, or you don't want to follow the planets, which is very easy right now, you just go on a website and you can have a 50,000 years projection of planets in the past and in the future. You can calculate any year, any position, any year for any planet. So that's not any issue anymore. Now, but let's say you don't want to go through that. So now you're reading something that is depicted in your hand and your personality. So if a person, now coming back to the same thing now, if your person has a bad amount of Jupiter, bad, in one of my videos, I explained that bad is because if naturally your mount should lie right under your finger, exactly. And if it's nicely, like yesterday I shared one, it's AI created image, because I couldn't create. I asked so many people, please create me an image, and nobody did. Oh, we are busy. Yeah, they are busy, of course. But nobody wants to take time to draw. They first have to know what I'm talking about, then they have to draw, and I may have to reject some of them. It's cumbersome. Yeah, I understand that. But I also thank God for giving me AI. So I say, AI, please, I wanted this kind of a hand, and then I pick. So that little tiny amount that I shared yesterday in the group, if it's nicely budged, not too much, you can say things. I mean, if my nose was Pinocchio's nose and it was coming here, you should be able to tell, oh, you know what, the guy got a big nose. Maybe it still looks big nose, but it's not that big, but it may appear to be a big nose, a big jaw, or maybe a broad shoulder person. The appearance itself. Right? So you can tell if a person is a short, a person is a long, or a person is fat, a person is thin, or whatever, So you are able to tell by your senses and your observation, lifetime observation of the things around you. You have a sense of proportion, geometry, a sense of beauty, a sense of proportion. So you can tell, that, oh, this is an ugly man, and this is a beautiful person, and this is a beautiful tree, this is beautiful painting, you can tell that. So if you can look at the mound and it looks nice, beautiful, but under the place and exactly under the finger, it's not too much out bulged, not too flat at all, So okay, so this is flat. So there's no mount at all, flat, and you will see many of them very commonly flat. Okay, that's measures. Mount gives you a temperament. It controls. It's like you have a what's the example? There's certain mechanical things that they in the pipe they have some kind of like maybe a water running, and then they have a reservoir, and then water reservoir, and then it takes have more. So if the energy is less or more, or like transformers that step up and step down, it's a reservoir. So this is a reservoir. Mount is a reservoir of energy. So when it's flowing from your arm into your fingers, where it's going to do some magic in your hand. That's the fingers. So the mount is a reservoir here. So it's just nicely done. It's nicely buzzed and nicely. If it's flat, there's no reservoir. There's no energy storing. There's no storage of energy. There's no energy. There's not sufficient energy. It's flat. The man doesn't have any strength within the action because it's Jupiter. Jupiter, I said, is action. So you are not. You're not. If it's a flat, you are not. I can guarantee you. I will look at a flat mount of Jupiter, and I say you will never have, no matter how many fake date of births and charts you give me. If a mount is flat, he's not first of Jupiter. It never is. Jupiter is not well placed in the chart. Rest assured that. Okay, so in order for me to convince me that a person has a good mount, Jupiter in the chart, it has to show on your mount. Okay, so if it shifts towards the other side, you're too ambitious, less ambitious. When it moves in different directions, we'll come into detail later on. It's just introduction. So when you come across, you study that and see. And now, if this finger, I'm just throwing a little bit so you take home something. If this index finger, watch it very carefully, make sure that normal hand means that these two fingers should be equal in the same size, placed in the rightly 90, the vertical. This finger, that finger should be, this is a very balanced personality. Balance means your personality, which is sun, which reflects how happy, how courteous, how well placed your personality is, and how aggressive you are. If this finger, I'm just saying, let's say this was this big, okay? Just imagine, forget about this bend, but this was this big, prominently short. You could say maybe a centimeter short. And I've seen many of them. I have pictures of those. Next time, when I start the lesson, I'll start sharing those pictures so that you can actually see what I mean, which 99% of the people don't know. Okay, so if this is short, this person, the shorter it gets, the action goes negative. The person still wants to do something. The Jupiter is prominent, but negatively prominent. It's fallen. It's in detriment, what we call in astrology. It's in detriment. So the person becomes aggressive. The person becomes agitated. The person becomes negative, and he uses the shortcuts. He takes risks. All right, I will go and see if the train is coming. If I say, hey, it's going to rain, don't go. No, I'll go. I did this risk. Okay, I have $10. Let me bet. All right, wait a minute. You only have $10. You have a dinner coming up. How will you eat if you lose the money? Oh, I don't care. I will make $100. So I will take my $100 and bet. And I will take, we have seen people who sell their properties. They sell their families. They are gamblers. Gambling is a sickness, psychological sickness and physical ailment, which can be detected from the index finger. Okay, what if it's longer than normal? You can look at it and it seems to be very long. Overcautious. You will never reach it's shorter. You don't even think. You just jump on the, oh, I'm going to do this. And you're taking risk every time. You're taking, you're just testing your luck. Does every gambler have the luck? No. 99% of the gamblers are the losers, right? It's the house that always wins, all right? So if you lose 10, you win 1, it's not a winning, okay? But they have something to tell. Oh, I won, I won. They have a story to tell. But it's their nature. It's like a hunter. It's not the hunting. It's a story to tell. Okay, it's the adventure within the story. So a person who has a longer finger is overly cautious. You tell them to, do you want? What do you want for the lunch? Let me think. An hour later, you come to them. Have you decided? No. Please decide. What do you want for lunch? Oh, let me think. And everybody has in the group has decided what to have, and this person is still undecided. Oh, I have 2 women, I don't know which one I want to marry. Okay. I want to buy a house, I don't know which one I want a house. There's 2, 3, 4 houses. You are undecided, overcautious, because you're weighing it too much. You're undecided because you're just going, analysis upon analysis upon analysis upon. The other day I met a person. He's an IT engineer. And I had, after 2 sentences, I knew exactly what he was talking about, who he is. Because this person had his own mind. Now we have to look into earth signs. We have to make sure it's an earth sign. We have to make sure it's what element. And one of the most important things, the elements, the 4 elements, fire, earth, and air, and water. The 4 elements literally. Now you have a willpower, a enthusiasm, and a action built into you, and now all of a sudden we put you put your Jupiter in an earth element. Now, God forbid if you have an argument with that person. No matter how wrong the person is, he's not going to admit that he's wrong, because he's like earth is like fixed, is anchored into his own reasoning, because he thinks that he is right, because it's Jupiter. He said, because I'm successful, I'm right. Okay. Will you change opinion? No. What will make you change? Just your own experience that will make you. So when I argue with these people, and they say, okay, time will tell you. These are the people you say, oh, time will teach you. Don't worry about it. It will happen to you, Time will teach you. These are the people who with the earth anchored into the earth, unmovable. Same is true about the middle signs. Like in each quadrant, there's a first sign is always a cardinal sign, middle is also a fixed sign, and the third sign is the mutable sign. When things happen in the first house, they're initiating. When things happen in the middle, they're fixed. They come to the rest, things take time. And then they are dying. It's like you're growing up, example, growing up, grown up, getting old, dying. What is it? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Where from, where we are going. And that's exactly Maula Ali said. Blessed are the people who know where from, where are, and where to. Because you know your limits, you know where exactly who you are, what you're doing. So these signs, Aries is a cardinal. It moves, it initiates, it gives you energy. That's where Jupiter looks good. And then you have a middle sign captured between Aries and the third house of Gemini is the Taurus. It's a fixed earth sign. Not only is earth sign, it is also a fixed sign in the middle. So anybody who belongs to Taurus has strong anchored Lord in the second house, in the Taurus, or Venus is somewhere there. expect some ego, expect some, being rigidness, being rigid. These things reflect on you. Okay, so now this is static, right? Coming back to your answer, Shahila. So this is all a static information. How do I change this? If I want to change this and I want to predict tomorrow, then I need to know where the current planets are, right? Now you need to go back and learn carefully where the sky, how sky is reflecting. So let me give you an example. Your first house, Jupiter's first house, Mars, and your Mars is in let's say a detriment, in a sign where it's in detriment. It's like fallen. It's in very weak. In Mars is a fire sign. Mars is a fire planet, and it happens to be the lord of the eighth house, which is the water sign. So if it relates to the water sign, it's different. But if it relates to the Aries, which is the first house, fire sign, then Mars is a blessing. Mars is great. So if you are born with the eighth house Mars that we put down in the first house, oh, it's great. Yeah, you have emotions. Being a first house, you have emotions. Yeah, a touch of emotion, which is good. And still, you are a powerful man, and you are a man who will have a sword on your enemy, and the enemy says, "Please forgive me," and you forgive, because you do have emotions, you do have that sensitivity. But if you are pure earth, it's like, go to hell, talk to God, he will receive you and he will tell you if you are right or wrong. Go to hell. So they will not have mercy. Flexibility. They don't have flexibility. So, I mean, right now I'm talking in very, very general terms to make you understand that how houses, how hands, how astrology, palmistry, and these are all interrelated. Okay? And how, generally speaking, because this has to be measured, everything that we do has to be measured, exactly measured, right? To have and to predict an impact. So that impact will be, just one second. Sir, can I call you back? Give me 15 minutes. It's my okay. So my mentor, the person we worked together, studies in college and all that. So I had a 2 o'clock with him, and it's like 2:45 already. So I've been talking for 1 hour and almost 1 hour and 35 minutes. I should wrap up so that we can continue tomorrow if you want to. We can do the same tomorrow, and it looks like nothing has. There's a problem, any problem, and this concept you need to understand, because this is the sum of everything that I've learned over 40 years. The books I've read, the things I've done, and the people I know. So now sometimes you would look at the people and you say who they are, but you can't tell them who they are. Sometimes they don't want to know who they are. I mean, I had a person, the very first, after learning astrology, I was learning palmistry. And I was coming from Oslo to Copenhagen in a cruise ship that left Oslo at 5 p.m. and arrived in Copenhagen 9 a.m. in the morning. So I was sitting on a deck, beautiful sunrise, and I'm sitting on a deck and reading my book. And they suddenly announce, okay, it's time for you to leave the boat or the ship. So I put the bookmark, and close my book. And that's the last sign. So can I call you back in 15 minutes? Thank you. So I had to take that call. All right. So the mark that I was looking at. So as soon as I get off, my brother took me to an office where there were like 15 people And they say, oh, the world's greatest astrologer and palmist is coming. This is how I was advertised. And I'm just a beginner, actually. Literally, I'm a beginner. And and I said, God, what are these people hoping from me? I mean, I have no experience. I mean, I was reading from the book, but practical experience was lacking, because in those days, I mean, today I can go on Facebook and have 500 different handprints to make my own judgments, to understand what something looks like. But in those days, none of these, there was no internet, there was nothing. Just you had to actually come across a person who had a short finger, who had a long finger, who had a thick finger, who had this kind of a hand or that kind of a hand. It was very, very rare. People, and you say, oh, I want to sue your hand. Who are you? Get out of here, Oh, I don't get into this. These are, this is nonsense. And you had to listen to a lot of, um, uh, words that, I don't want to say, repeat them, but this is how it went along, So learning was very, very slow. So all of a sudden you find 15 people sitting here, and there's right next to me on my left side sitting a person whose hand was like this. It said, it's infidelity, it's kufr, it's haram, it's haram. And he kept saying that. And I looked at him, just looked at him, and I said, listen, and I'm just totally novice. I'm a little beginner in this area. And I made my first judgment. I said, before I get up from here, you will have me read your palm. And I will not ask you, you will come to me. And luck struck me. This is called luck, okay? The first guy who presented me his hand was the person I was talking about, who went to jail. And I looked at him and said, oh, I saw that exact sign that I was looking in the book before I disembarked the ship. That sign was for going to jail. Very, very, I mean, how many people go in jail and you look at those signs and you will still have that exact sign. Sometimes you have different kind of signs for incarceration. But this incarceration, this is a very prominent sign. Make no mistake. And that was right there. And I looked at him, and the very first thing I looked at is that sign. God, it was like, this is called luck. And I said, oh, did you recently? And there are 50 people. I don't want to say private things. I hate people even presenting themselves in front of their spouses and siblings and saying, oh, read my luck. I said, I'm not going to do that. Unless you're, I'm saying, then I'm going to say very private things. Is it okay for you to, your siblings or your spouse learns that? If it's okay, then fine. Otherwise, I recommend not to do that. And in public, I don't want to disclose the private things that I happen to find out. So I said, oh, did you really recently had to go through an embarrassment? I mean, jail is an embarrassment, of course. But this is the words that came to my mind at the time, and this is what I said. I wasn't as clever. I didn't have any experience. I just I didn't want to say, did you go to jail? I just said, did you go through an embarrassment? No. I said, no, you did. And we just, I said, and now I had seen this clear sign in the book. Either the book is wrong, either the person is wrong, or there's something wrong with me who's reading it wrong. So there's an equation, this triangle, there's something, or all of them are wrong, one is wrong or two are wrong. How do I know that? So I said, I'm not going to move forward unless you admit something that I am wrong. If I'm wrong, then I don't need to continue, because I don't believe that this knowledge is good enough. I don't want to waste your time, my time, by knowing if advocating something wrong. But if you are wrong and you're trying to hide something from me, which, because I understand it's you who brought me into these 15 people here, but if you just indicate to me. And then my brother came to me and in my ear said, oh yeah, he went to jail. I said, don't tell me that. I know what I'm talking about. Just say yes. So I move on. For the last 10 minutes, you have been arguing with me. No, you are wrong. And now, if I am wrong, then I cannot continue with this knowledge. This knowledge is no good. because this is the most clear sign and in the most authentic book that I was reading. If it's wrong, then entire system is wrong. So why don't you admit in the first place? Just say, okay, yeah, there was an embarrassment. Who will know what embarrassment was? Even though half of the people knew that he went to jail. Because when you go to jail, people know it, right? So just say, yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, and I would have moved on. I would have, not sat there. So anyway, so now everybody got curious and then they're starting, and I was reading like just general thing because it was very, very new thing to me. So I was being very, very miser and cautious and not saying more things, restraining. So I was just, but I made sure that whatever I say is more accurate. All right. So now, by that time, and then this guy left on my said, he presented me his hand. He says, "Would you see my hand now?" I say, "Hey, wait a minute. Isn't it infidelity? It's not haram. It's not anti-Islamic." No, please. Now he's going to, and they ask me, how did you know that he's going to do that? Because it's faith, his beliefs. How did you change his beliefs? I said, I didn't change the beliefs. The way he was making his fist, he was trying to control his desire. He came in for this purpose. I was just observing him. I observed him by just his clench of his fist. I said, he was fighting with himself. He always believed in this thing, but he was afraid that, Islam is telling him it's haram. And now when he sees that with talking to 15 people, I've told them things which are accurate, he starts to dilute that idea of being haram and all that. His personal desire to show him has overcome the right and wrong. He does not, even if he believes that, palmistry or the knowledge of palmistry is anti-Islamic or something, which it is not. But his desires have overcome. Now he's telling me something about the person. And he opened up the hand and he showed me the hand. See, that's observation. So you need to know a person, how a person is reacting, what person is throwing on you, how you're receiving, how you're judging it, how you're looking at it. It's science. It's data science. What is data science? AI, data science. What is data science? You have a large data, you look at it from a different point of view. It's just information. You don't know if it's garbage, what it is. You make sense out of that data, and then you feed it to a model, and that model becomes AI, right? So we are doing the same thing. So much information is coming to you. You're taking that information. You are the learned person. You are the wise person. Remember in the beginning, I said wise person. Why? Because wise people can process information. Remember, wise person, we all have same brain. Nobody, like the other day in the article I put down, I believe in equality, genius equality. I wrote down an article. I believe in equality in genius as well. We are all born equal. And Quran says that, society says that, everybody says that, the law in America, everybody is equal, So we are equal in genius. But some people end up using their genius more than many others. Those influences are from our environment, cultural, financial, societal, or maybe astrology or palmistry, or, all those compulsions that we have, all those guards, little guards that we have, la ilaha, all that guards we have around us that are compelling us to change. That we have to measure what is the influence on us and how much we have changed, how much it is influencing us, how much it is impacting us. This is the measurement we do. This is how you read a personality, and you predict with the influence in the coming influence. I can say, in the beginning, my moon is unfortunately in Capricorn. And Capricorn moon, and thank God, I found out that planets in a sign are not as much as they are strong in a house. So my moon, where it falls into Capricorn, it also falls into almost shares the fourth house. which it becomes a little bit more positive and so my moon is on 8 hours in my full moon circle. 8 hours are bad for me. Okay. In those 8 hours, I have to watch out. In the beginning, I didn't know. Somebody argued with me and I got mad and blah, blah, and things happened. We went into argument. Then when I learned astrology, then I said, wait a minute, it's my moon that is bothering me. What do I do? And I started observing myself and I said, oh, you know what? Before when moon starts to come into this position, I start to get agitated. I'm feeling untired. I'm feeling restless. I'm feeling kind of a headache and kind of emotional. And my favorite is Advil. Like, people have aspirin or Panadol or something. My favorite is Advil. I have a back problem. I can't take any other strong medicine, so I take 1 or 2 Advils. So what I did was, whenever there was such a strain in my temperament, in my head, I would take 2 Advil and I will calm down. And after that, everything went by fine. I have learned to control. And then eventually I didn't need Advils because now I know. Oh, I'm feeling like, oh, okay. My moon. Okay, now I know. I'm aware, so I'm careful. Oh, don't argue, don't talk to people. Just spend time in doing something else creative. So you can actually manage yourself well by knowing your weaknesses and your strengths. Okay, this is what it is all about. Why we need astrology? We don't need astrology to predict a divorce. We need astrology to save divorce. Can you imagine? My brother-in-law, all the astrologers said that he cannot have a second wife. Second marriage. He was divorced. I was the only one, and I was a beginner at the time, and I saw a tiny little line somewhere, and I said, you will get married. Took 12 years that he got married. He did. Now he has, mashallah, he has, good wife and grown-up children now. But I was the only one, and my teacher Robert Zoll said, "How do you say that?" I said, "But I don't know. It's intuition. Something I saw something in his hand. I don't know. Maybe God sent me a message. I have no idea." It's a beginning. I couldn't make sense out of this, but I was very positive, inclined, and I said it will happen, and it did happen. So now I have saved so many marriages from breaking, literally. Like I was talking about those, if you talk to him, he will cut, hit you, and be careful, don't talk to him. You love him, right? Yeah. So just shut up. And she shut up for 12 years. And then she asked me, is that period over? I said, well, the period was never there. It's just that, you didn't fight for 12 years. Then, you were never supposed to divorce. You were never supposed to, there was no killer. I scared you because you loved him. I didn't want you to break because under the circumstances, you will fight so much that you will hold bad things against each other. And it will become a history, and history will keep on hitting your life. So to avoid all that filth that you were going to fill in those 12 years, you're out of that. So now you're happily married and you have children grown up, thinking, oh, but I didn't tell her that. Yeah, I just told her, the period is over, and then she's happy. They're happy. So what I'm saying is, you sometimes have to move forward to see if things. Let's say there's a destined divorce. Do you want to prevent it from not happening? Is the consequences getting into divorce are better, or staying in the bad marriage are better? So it's an evaluation. You have to, hand and chart will show you that. A miserable life will show up in your hand. And your sensitivity. Like that, the video I shared last night. A tiny little line. A line comes from here, you all know marriage line, even jokingly, but you know that these are marriage lines. As they come from side, the hand starts from here. The dark skin and the white skin, wherever on, slightly darker and slightly light. My skin tone is white, so you'll see more white. But in actuality, you can see a slight line where in my palm is whiter than the outer hand. that line on this side and that line on this side is the beginning of your palm and end of your palm. Okay, that divides you back and front. So this line starts from this starting line from this line, color line, khate abyss, what we call it, when night follows the day and day follows the night, that line, that it's the same way, you have a line here, so the wedding line starts. If this line goes straight, it means entirely different. When line goes up towards Mercury line, finger of Mercury, it means another thing. If it comes down, it's an entirely different story. And it's a very interesting story when it starts to go down. There's so many events happening there. But there's only one rare event happening if the line goes up towards that. Means this is your finger of Mercury. This is a mount of Mercury. It's communication. It's how you think. Communication does not happen until you start thinking. The first thing is you think. You cannot think until you hallucinate or you imagine. You have to imagine. You cannot imagine until you have seen something. If you haven't seen a tree, you cannot imagine a tree. See? You cannot imagine a bus if you haven't seen a bus. You cannot imagine the landscape on Mars. Maybe now we know a little bit, but unless you have seen it. So in order to create imagination, you must have observed, experienced something, right? Then when you experience, then you elaborate on it. You build upon that imagination. Okay, so the imagination is your mind and your brain and your communication. It's all part of, from palmistry point of view, is all part of Mercury. Your critical thinking is Mercury. The lines here, I've got, 4, 3, I have very 3 strong. I'm going to be a computer engineer, or I'm going to be a doctor or something. Yes, because it's critical thinking. You're wise. You can do thinking. Now, so if you are a person who's thinking and the wedding line is ending up, okay, I will talk about it. It's a very interesting. I'll teach you palmistry in no time if you're paying attention. So if it ends up in the market, that means you have marriage, which is preoccupying your brain, your thought, your imagination. Right? Now we have created a relationship. So yeah, it's a marriage line. If it's down, it's straight, we are still involved in the marriage. But this means that it's always in your head. You're always thinking about it. What could make you think of? I mean, I have a wife. Okay, fine. Am I thinking about her all the time? Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'm hungry. Did you make my food? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But you coexist like your brothers and siblings and parents and everybody else in your family. You do not think. You just happen to be there. You just act as normal. Well, when are you thinking about all the marriage when you're not happy? See, it's a problem for you. It's bothering you all the time. You couldn't be thinking. If you're happy, you're not thinking about it. Right? Say, Alhamdulillah, I'm happily married. They're done. But you're always saying, what a mess. My life is miserable. Oh, my wife this, or my wife this, or my wife, oh, my husband this, or that. Either way, spouse. So you're thinking all the time. So it ends up in the Mercury. And now you have to see how much it goes up and how long it goes up, how fast it is, how thin it is, how thick it is, and the length and all that. And then those are measurements that we'll learn at the final stage. So it gives you a trend. It gives you a tendency of your mind that how occupied you are about your marriage. It's something that, so that line, that video that you saw yesterday, if you happen to see that, AI I created, I was experimenting AI, making videos. I said, let me try. So I made that video. The woman is created by AI and the text is mine. So this woman contacted me on the Facebook and and I saw this extraordinary line, which is in a very rare hands. So I opted to, so when I see a line that is rare, I opt to comment on it. And then 100 people message me, my hand, I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not a professional astrologer. I'm not palmist. I'm not going to look at it because I don't have that kind of a time. So no, I only comment, I share a hand. If I see something extraordinary that makes everybody learn, I will comment on it and I'll tell you what it means, and then you can learn from it. Okay. And that's my condition for seeing anybody's hands. So this line, so I made a comment and she said, how accurate you are. I mean, I tried to make a very decent, hidden comment, very general, but and from a point that now, because I'm a little more expert in what I need to say, I sent out the clear message to her that she, on the receiving end, she understood what I was saying. At the same time, not everybody, she was not being exposed. And it was only hints. And they said, okay, you know what, can you elaborate on it? I said, okay, I will elaborate. There's a condition. I'm going to make a video and I'm going to teach everyone, and that's a condition that I will use your information. She said, okay, fine. Then I elaborated further on what she's going through, and she already agreed on that, but she was looking for a solution. I said, hey, you're what, 50, 55 years old. You're going through your menopause. You're going through for so much emotional changes, your physical changes, your hormone levels are fluctuating like crazy. This is the worst part in a woman's life. And you want to make a major change in this time? During this time? Are you in your right mind? Just because you can't live with a husband that you ended up marrying, having children, and now your children are grown up, and now you're thinking that you're getting out of this wedlock because you cannot live with your husband anymore. And you have already done that. You've already exercised that patience. So what is wrong? You're running out of patience. You're not young anymore that you can go marry another one or have fun with under the sun and go to the beach and do things that teenagers or young people do as a married people. You cannot even have that kind of a fun. So what do? You just shake the whole boat because you can't control. Then I said, okay, now open, take the lid off. Take it out of your chest. And then I started talking to her on the frequency. I tried to say, hey, this is this is that, this is this. And I don't see line there where you are getting married. I mean, stop thinking, because there's no divorce. So then she calmed down and she said, okay, maybe, this is my fate. She accepted it as a fate. And then she said, hey, you know what? Maybe, when the children are gone, I mean, I didn't put them because that video had to be 3 minutes. So I said, and when we talked, we were chatting actually. So, when your children leave you, they're married, they go into their own and make their own families. It's the man and the woman that live together, they rest together, and then the rest of the lives they enjoy. The best part of the married life is the one at the age of 60s and 70s and 80s, and as the more you get older. My brother-in-law is older than maybe 10 years older than my oldest sister, and he's bedridden now. My sister is maybe 75, 76 years old. She's servicing her 24/7. The man in the bed, every moment he thanks God for giving him that wife who's taking care of him every single moment. He cannot turn left or right. His lower part is paralyzed because of surgeries and things, and old age, of course. So, but my sister is totally dedicated. That's the time when the couple enjoy each other. That's the spousal end. There's a climax that you enjoy. Look at the end of the life, marriage. How well the marriage is, how well the life is going. What are your endings? It's not just one little thorn that bother, or pebble that come under your shoe, under your feet, is bothering you. You want to make a noise out of that, hell out of it. Understand that? So with this, we have gone 2 hours. I think it's pretty long. I didn't let you ask a question. Introduction went so long, and I can talk and talk. I mean, forget that. Um, that's my favorite part. And people said you never shut down. Shut up. So because this is something very interesting, and you will do that too. It's a human study. It's knowledge. It's criticism. It's analytics. So please, bear with me. I hope I gave you an overview of kind of a what planets are, what houses are, how they influence us, and a very very general, very general, very layman terminologies. I never use, even I teach postgraduates, master students in data sciences. I never use terminologies. I never use phrases. I just talk in very layman so that people can understand, people can get it. You should not be bogged down in technical, strong, technical, heavy words. John, once you absorb you understand what it is, then you can tackle any kind of strong word or strong terminology of phrase or anything. Then you can go heavyweight. Yeah, so this is why I started out with a very, very light pilot program so that we can test if we can stream and you can come in and we can ask questions. I should have allowed you to ask questions. But anyway, I really want to thank you, my mentor in academia is called me twice, and I just was 2 o'clock appointment with him, but we have gone to like 3 o'clock. So with this, thank you so much for being here. If you want, we can do tomorrow at 2 o'clock the same thing, which I promised to Tuesdays and Wednesdays. If you all agree in the group, we will continue tomorrow at 2 o'clock. All right? And you can now have questions. We can start off with questions, and then we can further go into it. I'm sure you have a lot of questions coming up after you leave this place. You will have plenty of questions coming up, popping up, in your brain. You will be looking at your hand. You will be looking at other people's hand, and it's just, not even an introduction of hand. All right. We have 30 hours of just discussing the shape of hand. It's already there on the channel. All right, thank you, and good night, and to everybody who's already ahead of me in the East, in the Europe and Pakistan, India, and all those places. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.